So I'm making some progress on the cockpit. It's one of the last things that I have to do, and I put the passenger, co-pilot, and pilot seat in here, and I had put seats behind that, and also this center section here, which is some detail that sits in the middle on the graded floor. And then I had added some dry brushing and some paint, and also the flashing lights. So there's some lights that are static that are on all the time, and there's a couple lights that are blinking. So there's really no magic to this. What I did was I had run some fiber optic for all these small holes here, and I took some of the strands and I had hooked them up to blinking lights, and what you will get is an alternate blinking effect depending on how many blinking LEDs you use. So I have a flashing red that you can see, they're all timed the same because they're all hooked to the same flashing LED, and then there's one white flashing LED. So I had taken the white ends and I had coated them with this, which is just a clear blue, to me, acrylic paint. Takes a couple coats to get the color to kind of darken a little bit. It'll get washed out. So I'll show you what it looks like underneath. So I added a diffuser. I didn't want I'm going to put LED strips underneath this to light up the floor. So I didn't want those to shine through with hot spots. So to get a more even lighting, I added a clear diffuser that's about 1 millimeter thick. And the LED strips will sit underneath this, and they will more evenly distribute light throughout the cockpit. I also added, let's see if I can find it. I added some lights in the inside. I'm working on the back wall here. There's a piece that goes in here, and it kind of caps off this, which is kind of a door, and I'm working on that right now to get the lighting effect that I want on that. So that's where I'm at right now. The blinking lights that I use, I bought, I think 50 at a time. It will last you a long time. If you just use these once in a while, they're lighthouse LEDs. They're 3mm and they're pre-wired. For me, it's worth the extra expense to buy pre-wired because you could make your own LED with the bulb and the resistor and the wire, but with those, sometimes you have a problem where, at least I did, where a lot of times if I made my own, wires would touch. So these are all completely sealed up. I have better odds of using these and not having a problem than making my own LEDs and then having one of the LED wires touch foil or touch another LED, and then your whole model goes dark. So I didn't want to deal with that. So it's worth the extra couple bucks to buy the pre-wired, in my opinion. These are flashing red and these are flashing white. And obviously if you hook up more than one, you're going to get different flash rates. So I'll show you what they look like. These are different flashing rates. And I'm not sure if you can buy different colors, but you can also coat the white. You could just buy white flashing and then just dip them in clear paint if you want. I've done that plenty of times. But sometimes I just like to take a shortcut and buy the original color so I don't have to worry about it. It depends. But I've had this pack of 50 for a long time, and I just use 1 or 2 on a model, and they last a long time. So it's probably worth it, in my opinion. So I'll come back when I have the actual cockpit assembled and the rest of the lighting in and installed. Well, here's more of the cockpit detail. I added some brown on the seats and some brown over here to change the color up a little bit, give it some more detail. the back wall I finished. It's sort of like a round door, like a vault kind of door, which is kind of cool. I kind of redesigned it because the original part was similar, but I wanted the lighting to show those lines in there. So hopefully you can see that. Hopefully it's not too washed out. But what I did was I had added a little lens on the back and put a 5mm LED in here. As you can see, the lens is kind of focusing all the light around that circle. So let me hook up the rest of the lights. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna light block just for insurance. I don't think I need to, because the resin on this kit is pretty thick. I don't think that the light is going to shine through the hole, but what I'm going to do is light block this with the stuff that I mentioned, the big jug of heavy-bodied acrylic. Okay, so this stuff's straight out of the bottle. It's real thick. And I'm going to block this lighting where the LEDs are lit on the sides. And also on the back here. You can see on the back, this lens, I'm going to just hit that. I'm just kind of lathering this stuff on here because I don't care how it looks as long as it blocks the light. It's going on real thick. Okay, so that whole area in the back is light blocked. Let that dry for a while, for like hours, until that's completely dry, and then I'll put the cockpit into the nose cone area. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Alright, I'm taking a break from that cockpit. That's pretty much done. Just letting some stuff dry. I started painting the body of this thing. I accented some colors. There's some decals on here. These are painted panels. It's decal, some small decals from Millennium Falcon decal set that I had. Some other decals here, some panels. I'm using the different grays. I'm using, that's light gray. That's a Vallejo light gray. I'm also using dark ghost gray, which is a Model Masters color, and the red is Insignia red. That's a Model Masters color. Here, a couple of these panels. That's actually coated with orange. So I sprayed the Insignia red and then I sprayed orange over that, just to give it like an orange red sort of tint. Now to bring out some of these details, because I had misted this whole thing after it was white. I had misted it with a grime color from Archive X, and gave it like a sort of like a yellowish brownish sort of tint, a little bit sort of a warnish. So what I'm using on these recessed areas these vents and these recesses is this Tamiya. It's accent color. This is panel line accent color. This is black. I also have gray. I'm putting this stuff in. I really like this stuff because you can kind of control how much you put in here versus a wash. You kind of just like, well, I guess you could do the same thing with a wash if you had the right brush, but this stuff comes with this applicator. And I'm going over these areas. And then after, I'm using some mineral spirits to kind of clean it up. And then, you know, if it's too much, you can always mist over that with a lighter color, with an airbrush, or with a few other things. You can, maybe some pastels or something like that, to cover up the, if you go too heavy with the stuff. I'm kind of just going over where I think I want things to stand out. So all these vents here, like, I really want this stuff to stand out because it got all filled in with paint. So all these recesses, I'm gonna put this stuff in here and then wipe away the excess. Then if you know, if you wipe it all away, just put some more on. But it will get into the small stuff and let it all stand out like that. Those vents right there, they're looking a lot better. I'm gonna hit this one again because I took too much out. You can also let it dry for maybe like 20 minutes or so and then come back and hit it with the mineral spirits and take a little more away. If it's wet, you're going to get more of it coming out on your Q-tip, but I'm not really fond on using this stuff to fill in all the panel-ons because I think it doesn't really look right. I'm just filling in stuff that I think I really want to accentuate. See, I'm using this Tamiya stuff in these vents. There's a lot of vents that are on the engines and on the body, so they're catching up all this Tamiya stuff. The mineral spirits that I'm using, it's just a run-of-the-mill, odorless mineral spirits. Whatever you can get your hands on, this mineral spirit should work. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to go around a lot of these, all the machinery and stuff, and make it, you know, bring out some of this detail and give it some depth. It's looking pretty cool. Alright, I'm still working on the weathering details with this Tamiya panel line accent. This stuff, Should probably mention I'm using this stuff on enamel paint, which won't react harshly to mineral spirits, but what I'm doing is just kind of washing this stuff down. Makes a really nice weathering pattern. If you just put a drop here or there, it won't dissolve the paint if you're using enamel. I don't think I tried this over acrylic, but that's looking pretty good. So this is enamel stain. It's rust. This is a takes a lot to get mixed. So I'm going to do the same thing with this stuff as I'm doing with the panel line accent. And I'm going to use mineral spirits to thin it. I'm just going to put a little on a brush. And I'm going to put this Q-tip in some mineral spirits and kind of just work this stuff around just to give it like a natural weathering. Takes a lot of time, but it ends up looking really good. Done. So I'm just kind of putting it around here and there. In some places, you know, there'll be more weathered than others. You can always take it off with, if it's too heavy, you can always take it off with some mineral spirits. I'm using these pointed Q-tips for some stuff and regular for other areas. It depends on, you know, what I'm looking for.
Target, maximum firepower.